Hi, everyone. I'm Amuri Amin, and welcome back to The Inner Eyes. Just quick housekeeping. I have not cut myself. I have dye on my fingers from doing hair over the weekend. But have you ever noticed the loudest version of you is not always the strongest one? Sometimes it's the most afraid. Dorothy has walked through the mind, she has faced the heart, and now she encounters something that lives in both fear. They're walking, still moving forward, still becoming. And as they continue down the yellow brick road, something subtle begins to happen. The road doesn't disappear, but it changes. They move deeper into the forest. And the further they go, the less visible the path becomes. Leaves begin to fall over the road, branches stretch across it, and the ground becomes uneven. You can still see traces of it. You know it's there, but it's not as clear as it was before. This matters because this is what happens on the journey. In the beginning, the path always feels clear, it feels obvious, it feels confirmed. But as you move deeper, it requires more choice. You can't rely on visibility anymore. You have to rely on your knowing. And this is where doubt begins. Am I still on the right path? Did I miss something? Should I turn back? And it's in this space where the path is less clear, where the trust is being tested. And then that's something else that's inside of you. Something begins to shift. Before anything appears, the environment changes. The journey no longer feels light. It's no longer ease. I keep hearing ease on down the road. But it no longer ease. There's tension now. The trees feel different. The space feels heavier. The unknown feels closer. Because before we consciously recognize fear, we feel it. It shows up in the atmosphere, in the energy, in that subtle sense that something is not the same. This is what happens when you go deeper. The path is still there, but now it requires more from you. And before anyone else reacts, Toto notices the loyal companion, the quiet presence. He senses it at first, not with logic, not with explanation, but with knowing. Toto is intuition. Did you ever notice that in the movies, The Wizard of Oz, or if it's The Wiz, Toto disappears for a while? Toto fades in the background. But when it's most necessary, that's when Toto is front and center on the pain. He's in the scene, he's noticeable again. And that part of you is your intuition. It's the part of you that feels something before you can explain it. The part that says something's not right, even when everything else looks normal. And instead of waiting, Toto moves. And that's when he appears loud, aggressive, dominant, not just presenting, but imposing. At first glance, he looks powerful, but look closer in the original story, he attacks. He goes after the scarecrow, he goes after the Tin Man. He's trying to assert dominance, trying to prove strength. But when he strikes the Tin Man, nothing happens. No damage, no reaction. And this is important because when something is protected, it cannot be penetrated. And in this story, this is what happens when you shut down emotionally. Things hit you, but they don't reach you. Not because you're strong, but because you're guarded. And while all of this is happening, Toto doesn't hesitate. He goes straight towards the lion, small but certain, because intuition doesn't recognize fear. It doesn't overthink, it responds, even when it doesn't fully understand. And in The Wiz, this same energy shows up differently. The lion is hidden, camouflaged, blended into the environment. He's blended, a statue outside the library. Fear is no longer just external, it's embedded, part of the structure, part of what looks normal. And when he reveals himself, what does he say? And if you have to come around, you best not make me frown. I just might knock you down. I'm a mean old lion. not just behavior, but identity. Fear has now become what he believes he is, not something he experiences, but something he embodies. And there's something else here. The lion doesn't just stoke fear, he has fear. He isn't just afraid, he's trying to live up to something. As the king of the jungle, he believes he's supposed to be loud, he's supposed to be dominant, he's supposed to be fearless. It's a presence that takes up space, but inside the world feels overwhelming, unpredictable, frightening. And instead of admitting that, he performs the opposite. He puts on a mask. He roars louder, acts bigger, pushes harder, not because it's who he is, but because it's who he thinks he has to be. Let me say that again. It's not because it's who he is authentically, it's because he thinks that's who he has to be. And this is where it gets dangerous. Because when you hide the truth about how you feel, your behavior disconnects from your awareness. You become more reactive, more aggressive, more careless, not because you intend harm, but because you're trying to protect yourself. And sometimes that performance makes you more vicious than you ever meant to be because you're not responding, you're reacting. And over time, it becomes isolating because no one is experiencing the real you, only the version you created to survive. And when that pressure builds, the performance can't hold. And the moment he's challenged, everything changes. He collapses, he cries, oh, he trembles, he shrinks. And right there, the illusion breaks. The lion doesn't lack courage, he lacks honesty about his fear. And Dorothy doesn't reject him, she doesn't shame him, she allows him to come along, even in his fear. Because this is what growth looks like. You don't wait to be fearless to move forward. You move forward and bring your fear with you. The lion's identity is built around being strong. So admitting fear feels like he's losing himself. And this is where people get stuck because you're not just facing fear, you're facing who you think you are. So instead of saying, I'm afraid, you say, I'm fine. I've got it. I don't care. But underneath, something is shaking. And yet, he still joins the journey, afraid, uncertain, emotional, but moving forward. Scarecrow moved without knowing, Tin Man moved without feeling, and now the lion moves without certainty. You don't become whole first and begin, you begin and become while along the way. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be honest. So if you're performing strength, if you've been hiding fear, if you've been trying to appear together, you're not lacking courage. You're protecting your identity. But courage begins the moment you tell the truth. Even if your voice shakes, even if you begin to tremble, even if you begin to feel as though you falter, you're telling the truth. The lion thought he needed courage, but really, he needed permission to be afraid. And this is the inner eyes, where the journey isn't just about becoming fearless, it's about becoming real. And I will see you as we continue the journey on the yellow brick road.